Warning. The following fanfic reading is for mature audiences only. It contains graphic content such as blood, gore, death, graphic descriptions of executions, and adult jokes. Viewers' discretion is advised. Bullet Point. Written by Reeve. Chapter 2. Truth Will Out. Day 7, 1:40 p.m. Pinkie and Coco trotted down the staircase in the entrance hall, joining the group of ponies already gathered at the bottom. "Did you find what you were looking for?" Vinyl asked, hobbling over. Pinkie noticed the bandage around her right forehoof.
"I did."
"Are you going to fill me in?"
"Of course! When every pony else is moving into the courtroom, we'll lag behind and we can fill each other in."
No sooner had the words left Pinkie's mouth than the familiar rumbling sound drew their attention to the sight of the staircase collapsing into the ground, paving the way to the courtroom.
About time,
Blue Blood grumbled, leading the way down the stairs.
Now we can condemn that Pegasus and get on with our pointless day-to-day routine.
As the rest followed him, muttering various insults behind his back, Pinkie stayed true to her word and drifted behind with Vinyl. Once they were out of earshot of the others, Pinkie revealed the bottle of ketamine she had taken from the shelf to use as a visual aid.
"If I'm right, then Soarin is not the killer."
Day 7, 1:46 p.m. Entering the courtroom, Pinkie found it exactly as it had been the first time they had entered. Only now, along with Twilight's screen, Donut Joe and Trenderhoof's screens had their colors stripped from them, a bloody X marring their faces. Some ponies were already standing in their designated alcoves, clearly anxious to get the trial over with. As Vinyl moved off to her position, some pony approached Pinkie from the side. Seeing the flash of blue in her peripherals, she turned to see Soarin standing beside her.
"Pinkie, you don't really believe I killed him, do you?"
He asked, his eyes pleading. Pinkie hesitated before answering.
"I don't know what to believe."
"I could never kill another pony!"
Soarin insisted, looking utterly hopeless.
"A week ago, I didn't think any pony could take a life."
Pinkie replied, not meeting Soarin's eye. Soarin nodded sadly and walked away from Pinkie towards his own alcove. As Pinkie did likewise, moving over beside Vinyl, the mastermind screen flickered to life.
I'm glad you have decided to avoid dragging this out with unnecessary questions. It means we can jump straight into the accusations.
Every pony was now in position, looking up at the mastermind screen with utter contempt.
If we're all ready, then I call this trial to order.
Let's not waste any more time. The culprit is obviously Soarin.
"For the last time!"
Soarin growled, looking much healthier but still leaning on his bench for support.
"I didn't kill anyone!"
"I think he's telling the truth, and I can prove it. But I'll wait a moment and see how this plays out."
For the record's sake,
Fleur began, although she sounded like she was already regretting what she was about to suggest.
why don't you walk us through what you think happened?
Gladly, if it will put this no argument to rest. Soarin and Trenderhoof met up for their morning session of swimming as per usual. However, while swimming, Soarin assaulted Trenderhoof, who managed to escape. He chased the victim down the hall to the parlor, where he killed him by striking a blow to the head with the fire poker.
That's already all wrong!
Pinkie interrupted. Blue Blood rolled his eyes at this.
Very well. Entertain us by attempting to show us what I said wrong.
Gladly!
Pinkie replied, mocking Blue Blood by using his own choice of words.
Your entire tale, fanciful as it may be, does not account for how the room was sealed from the inside.
Actually, I thought of a logical reason for that.
Oh, this should be fun, Vinyl retorted. Blue Blood shot her a glare before continuing.
Someone chased him into the room and attacked him. He then left the nearly dead Trenderhoof, who used his telekinesis to block the door in fear of him returning.
Impossible!
What? How is that impossible?
As a unicorn, you should know full well a strike to the skull like that would have disabled Trenderhoof's magic.
Blue Blood grimaced, clearly having overlooked this fact.
That aside, Trenderhoof has been struck a number of times. He was easily dead by the time the last blow was dealt.
Well, guess that's that theory out the window.
Well, we examined that door for ages. There was no way he could have gone through it after it had been sealed from the inside.
You keep assuming it's Soarin. It could just have easily been a unicorn who could have teleported in. And I think we all know a unicorn who has been very eager to draw attention away from himself.
Trixie hates to poke a hole in any theory that suggests Blue Blood is the guilty one. But if you recall, we can't teleport here. You saw what happened to Twilight when she tried it on the first day.
I still think it's Blue Blood. Lightning's right. He's been very insistent that it's Soarin. He must be drawing attention away from himself.
No, I believe he's just stupid.
What? How dare you, Fleur?
He couldn't have been responsible as I was with him at the time the murder must have occurred.
So if teleportation is out, how did the culprit get in?
Well, Trixie pointed something out earlier.
Fleur indicated. Trixie nodded, taking over what Fleur had begun.
Trixie discovered the curtains outside the crime scene were very wet. She proposes the murderer dried themselves off to avoid leaving any further trail and left to infiltrate the room from somewhere else.
What's to say the killer was ever wet? That trail could have been made by Trend alone.
Well, there is a lot of water splashed around the edge of the pool. I reckon it could only have been made if two ponies were struggling in the pool itself, specifically while trying to get out of the pool.
Oh, sorry. Just ignore me.
It's fine, Brayburn. These are the kinds of questions we need to be asking.
So where did the killer enter from, if not the door?
Gizmo asked, trying to steer the conversation back.
Trixie could not find any way into the parlor via the adjoining rooms,
Trixie admitted before looking to Fleur.
Did you have any better luck upstairs?
Well, I couldn't find a method of entry to the parlor below, but I did notice something interesting in the washroom. One of the shower cubicles was covered in black grime.
Hey! Did she just say... Fleur, did you say the shower cubicle was covered in black grime?
Yes. Why? Does that mean something to you?
It does! And it should mean something to you too!
Fleur just stared back at Pinkie blankly.
On our second day here, you and I explored the house for secrets we might have missed during our initial search. After what we found, I had to get cleaned up. And when I did, I left the shower covered in that same black filth.
Of course!
Fleur exclaimed as the truth dawned on her.
Care to fill us in?
Lightning requested, looking confused by Pinkie's revelation.
Pinkie had to get washed because she was covered in soot, which she got from climbing through
the secret tunnels connecting the fireplaces.
This explains so much. Trenderhoof sealed himself inside the parlor, and the killer dragged themselves off and went into one of the other sitting rooms. They then traveled through the chimney to sneak into the parlor where Trenderhoof was waiting.
And that explains why all the blows were to the back of his head. Trenderhoof was probably watching the door, figuring the killer would try to come in through there. So, when the killer came out the fireplace, he hadn't seen them. The culprit then took the fire poker as they came out before sneaking up behind Trenderhoof and attacking him.
Well, that's all well and good, but none of that proves who the killer was, or that Soarin was not the killer.
Alright, I think it's time to play my ace in the hole. You're right, that doesn't prove his innocence.
Pinkie began, before slamming the medical encyclopedia, the bottle of water, and the bottle of ketamine onto the bench in front of her for every pony to see.
But these still.
What is all that?
Gizmo asked, scratching his head, trying to figure it out.
And how does any of that prove he isn't undeniably guilty?
Allow me to explain.
Pinkie began, noticing the spark of hope in Soarin's eyes.
Soarin claims that he fell asleep in a changing room beside the pool. Sorry, what he actually said was he must have dozed off. The simple fact is he doesn't remember, because that's one of the effects of ketamine.
Ketamine?
What the heck is ketamine?
It's, it's a date rape drug.
Drug? Some pony drugged me?
Indeed, and I probably wouldn't have figured it out. But for the other symptoms associated with ketamine, impaired motor function, problems breathing, convulsions, vomiting, numbness, and loss of coordination. Can anyone deny Soarin has been displaying each of those symptoms since he arrived at the crime scene?
How do you know all those symptoms?
While walking outside, Vinyl and I came across some broken glass. One of the second floor windows had been smashed out.
Second floor? So it was some pony's bedroom?
It could have been the washroom.
Actually, Cloud Chaser is right. Vinyl levitated me up to the window and I went inside. It was definitely one of the bedrooms.
Whose was it?
I don't know. Yet. There was nothing inside that could identify it. The only thing I found was this medical encyclopedia hidden in the pillow.
Pinkie held up the book for them all to see.
One page was marked out specifically, and if I flip to that page, you can all see the passage detailing the effects of ketamine has been circled.
I'm sure this is all coincidence. That could very well have been in Soarin's room, and he planted that book there to throw us off the trail and to support his act of falling asleep.
Well, actually, just to be on the safe side, I went to the lab and searched for where they keep the ketamine. The drawer they are stored in is missing a few bottles. However, all but one empty slot were covered in dust. I removed one bottle just for comparison, and the slots were identically bare of dust and dirt. So one bottle was definitely taken from the lab recently.
So how did Soarin end up spiked with it?
It was in his water bottle.
Pinkie said, picking up both bottles in either hoof to show every pony.
Ketamine is colorless and odorless, so Soarin wouldn't have noticed anything off until he took a drink. But because it's so fast-acting, he wouldn't have been able to do anything. Chances are he passed out beside the pool itself, and the killer dragged him into the changing room so Trenderhoof wouldn't see him.
You mean if he was in the changing room at all?
Well, I found this water bottle in there. It was still cold at the time, so it couldn't have been in there much more than a few hours.
This all seems solid,
Trixie said, nodding, only to be interrupted by Blue Blood scoffing.
I still believe he took that bottle from the lab himself.
Blue Blood said, causing several ponies to groan in frustration.
This is all part of his plan to throw us off the scent.
Look, buddy!
Soarin snapped, looking sick to death of Blue Blood's accusations.
Maybe I should be flattered you think I'm some criminal genius, but I'll be honest, I'm not that smart.
I dropped out of school for Celestia's sake. Fight is all I'm good at. Even if I wanted to kill one of you, I wouldn't know the first thing about how to go about it. Not that I would. The Wonderbolts are more than just a team of performers and athletes. We're also one of Equestria's most elite tactical units. Our creed is the protection of all Celestia citizens. I joined them because I believe in that creed, so you can accuse me all you want. But the simple truth is, I would rather die than kill another pony.
The room was silent, every pony staring at Soarin with a mixture of shock and awe at his sudden outburst. Every pony except Blue Blood.
Inspiring speech is made to see these lesser ponies,
he said, turning his nose up at Soarin.
But unless you actually show me proof that some pony else was the culprit, I will not be swayed.
That elicited an outburst of shouting from all around the room, almost all directed at Blue Blood. Pinkie just tried to block out the noise, desperately trying to think.
It's not Soarin. I'm sure of that. Excuse me?
Coco said quietly, her timid voice drowned out by all the ponies arguing.
But I still can't figure out who the real culprit is. I think I might know. Vinyl said Trenderhoof had no other injuries, so the blood had come from the culprit.
Seriously, now I would appreciate it if you would all listen.
But we can't conduct full body examinations on every pony here. And even if we could, Vinyl's injury could implicate her. There has to be a way to narrow it down.
Everybody shut the fuck up!
Coco screamed over the noise, silencing everyone instantly and pulling Pinkie out of her own thoughts.
I am trying to present some evidence if you would all shut up and listen to me for 5 seconds!
An uncomfortable silence descended over the courtroom. Even Blue Blood looked shocked at the tiny pony's outburst and dared not to speak up. At last, it was Trixie who found the confidence to.
Our apologies. Would you like to tell us your opinion?
Thank you. I was trying to say that while in the lab with Pinkie, I noticed something on the shelf where the ketamine was stored.
Every pony remained silent as Coco held out her hoof as if to show them something.
I'm not sure how to tell you this, kid, but you aren't holding anything.
Look closer,
Coco said, rolling her eyes. Every pony obeyed, stretching forward as far as the binding runes at their hooves would allow. Straining her eyes, Pinkie could just about make out a few golden strands resting on Coco's hoof.
Are those?
Cloud Chaser began, receiving a nod from Coco.
These strands of hair were caught on a loose nail just above the drawer where the ketamine was kept. I figured the pony who took the bottle got their hair cut.
Not hair! There's only one pony here with hair that shade of yellow.
I see,
Pinkie said quietly, leaning back. Every pony looked over to her, the expression on her face giving away the fact she'd reached some conclusion.
What are you thinking, Pinkie?
There's only one pony in this room who has a mane of that color. They're the same pony who lied in the parlor about their alibi. The same pony who killed Trenderhoof. Lightning Dust!
Hey! What the hey, Pinkie? I didn't do it. How could you even say that?
There are only 2 ponies here with a blonde mane. And between you and Blue Blood, it doesn't take a genius to tell which of you that hair came from.
So, my hair was in the lab. But what did you mean when you said I lied about my alibi? I was doing cardio in my room like I have for the past few mornings. Ask anyone, that's what I do. I never left my room until after I was done, at which point I met up with Cloud Chaser.
True, you didn't leave your room through the door. But as a Pegasus, you would have no trouble flying outside once you broke your window.
Oh, so you're assuming that room is mine. Even if it was, then what? I just ran to the pool and attacked Trenderhoof?
No. First, you had to deal with Soarin, but you had already obtained the necessary tools to do that. So, once you arrived at the pool through the door to the grounds and found him unconscious, you dragged him into the changing room before Trenderhoof arrived.
Okay, now I know you're taking the piss. If any of that was true, I would have just killed Soarin while he was out of it. No offense, dude. I mean, why the heck would I attack Trenderhoof if Soarin was completely defenseless?
Because then you wouldn't have your perfect scapegoat. Leaving Soarin alive gave you the perfect patsy, especially since him being drugged meant that his alibi sounded totally unbelievable later, especially next to yours, which you had spent days reinforcing in every pony's minds so that we wouldn't question it when you brought it up.
I didn't kill anyone, and you're an idiot for even suggesting it! Idiot, 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 idiot!
Is she having a stroke or something?
I was never anywhere near that pool, and you can't prove otherwise!
Lightning exclaimed, slamming her hoof down on the bench, her face contorted with rage and...
Hey? That's it! Actually, I can.
Lightning backed up slightly, her eye twitching, now struggling to hide her panic.
You see, at the pool, we found a lot of water splashed up over the edge. But the water was an odd shade of pink. You know why? Because blood had been mixed in it.
So, it was probably Trenderhoof's.
It couldn't have been. He didn't have a single wound on him beyond the one that killed him.
So the blood must have come from the murderer.
Well, there you have it. Look all you want, you won't find a cut on me.
I don't doubt it.
Pinkie agreed, getting a few surprised looks from the other ponies in the room.
Because that blood didn't come from a cut. It came from your nose.
Lightning's eye twitched again, more noticeably this time. Panic and fear clear on her face.
You tried to drown Trenderhoof, I assume. But he reacted the same way one would if they were attacked by a shark. He kicked you in the nose, breaking it before fleeing.
How could you possibly?
Lightning tried to say, but her voice was now hoarse and barely audible.
When we opened the door to the parlor, we smelled the body. You had a particularly extreme reaction when you sniffed. At first, I assumed it was out of revulsion, which surprised me because the smell wasn't that bad at that stage. Now I know it was due to the pain in your muzzle. You just had that same pained reaction when you twisted your face at me.
Lightning began, her voice trailing off.
Once you washed the blood away, no pony would have known that any bruising would have been hidden by your coat.
Every pony stared at Lightning, whose mouth opened and closed several more times, before at last her body sagged and she hung her head.
I did it.
Lightning! Cloud Chaser began, shaking her head as if trying to deny it.
Why?
Brayburn whispered, a confused look plastered over his face.
I guess I never did believe in that creed,
she said, after a long pause, looking up at Soarin.
But then that's why I got kicked out of the academy. I only ever looked out for myself, even when it meant sacrificing ponies I'd come to like.
She briefly glanced at Brayburn before looking away in shame once more.
Go ahead and vote. Whatever that psycho's got in store, I deserve it.
Thanks for the perfect transition, Dusty.
The mastermind said, sounding gleeful at the prospect of another impending execution.
Any last words?
Yeah, actually.
Lightning stood up straight, looking Pinkie dead in the eye.
You're pretty clever, Pinkie. I know if any pony can beat this creep and get every pony out of here, it's you.
Pinkie nodded stoically.
She's not a bad pony. Just desperate. Just like the rest of us.
Aww, how touching.
The mastermind said in a mock choked up voice, adding a little sniff for dramatic effect. all before switching right back to sadistically excited.
Oh well, here's more forever. Let's just move straight on to the main event. Every pony place your bets.
There was less hesitation this time around. Most ponies turning their dials and bringing Lightning's face up on the screen behind them without a second thought. Some took a few more seconds, like Pinkie, who took one last breath before reluctantly turning her dial. Soon, every screen besides the deceased and the masterminds displayed Lightning's face, even the one directly behind Lightning. No sooner had all the votes been cast than the screens reverted to black, the guilty screen appearing directly opposite Pinkie, beginning its initial slow cycle around the room, gathering speed as it went until the letters were no more than a blur. In the end, it came as a surprise to no pony when the letters finally slowed, before finally coming to a stop right behind Lightning Dust, instigating the same celebratory noises that accompanied Donut Joe's conviction.
Was there ever any doubt? Lightning Dust murdered Trenderhoof, and now it is time for her to face her shocking fate.
Pinkie looked away as the floor disappeared beneath Lightning's hooves and she was dropped into oblivion. But Pinkie couldn't escape the noises of all the screens coming to life. Obeying a sixth sense of curiosity, Pinkie allowed herself to look up at the screen opposite her. Lightning Dust had clearly tried to slow her descent using her wings, but whether it was due to the shock of the fall or the acceptance of her fate, she hadn't done a very good job of it, and now lay upon a white floor, her limbs twisted out beneath her. As she shifted around in obvious agony, Pinkie saw that the surface she was lying on was some kind of white powder. It looked almost like very pale sand. They all stared in confusion at the screen, wondering what sick punishment the mastermind had devised, when the screens began zooming out until something was visible over Lightning's head. It was a thick sheet of rumbling black clouds. A beep signaled Pinkie to look down at her hoof computer, which was now displaying a screen. Vitrification, the process in nature where glass structures known as fulgurite are formed when lightning strikes quartz sand or silica. Pinkie took all this in, the gears in her mind working double time trying to figure out what it meant, only to have her attention dragged back to the screen when a clap of thunder sounded out, followed by screams. Lightning Dust lay writhing in the silica, screaming in agony, but the most horrifying part was her right forehoof, the leg of which was blackened and charred, but the hoof was encased in some bizarre branching root-like structure in varying degrees of transparency and shade of dark colors. Some of the ponies in the room gasped, some like Cloud Chaser, looking away from the screens altogether. But Pinkie found she couldn't tear her gaze away. It was as if her eyes were glued to the screen in front of her. However, lightning didn't lie there for much longer, as all at once, bolt after bolt of lightning came careening down, striking her body and the sand all around her, which shot up all over her, petrifying in a split second. Before long, the screams ceased, and shortly after that, the thunder also silenced. Lightning's body was completely obscured by smoke and sand swirling around, disturbed by the storm. Then the screens all switched off, and the floor in the center of the room opened up once more. Pinkie recoiled, terrified of what was going to ascend this time. The platform rose up, but there was no platter of disturbing delectables this time. Instead, what looked like a sculpture dominated the center of the room. The feature looked crystalline, countless shards branching off in all directions. Some sections were a cloudy green or black color, but most of it was clear as a window pane. And inside, for all to see, was the charred corpse of Lightning Dust, her body twisted in agony, her mouth stretched wide in a permanent scream.
I don't think the looks on your faces will ever get old.
Pinkie turned her eyes away from the glass prison.
If anyone can beat this creep, it's not me. We'll do it together.
Tomorrow